Well, yeah, that's just all that really is just upper-lower sideband with an injected carrier. So that's exactly what you're doing with the SDR.
And isn't that amazing they were doing that in the 50s? N1 BCG.
Yeah, that's one of the cooler things that I've ever ran into. The CQAM is what came after that, right? How does the CQAM work?
The CQAM is quadrature. That's where they've got the carrier phase modulated. I actually have, sitting on the floor of my kitchen, long story, a Motorola CQAM AM stereo generator. And so you feed your left and right analog audio into it, and it takes the left and right, thumbs them, and feeds that out in a single balanced output to the modulator of the transmitter. And then it takes the left minus right and feeds that into a phase modulator. So it actually takes the carrier and phase modulates that, and then the receiver sorts it back out again. Motorola came up with that because Leonard Kahn had the independent sideband system. It's going back to the 80s when AM stereo was coming of itself, and he used the independent sidebands, which were obviously the most bulletproof when it comes to fading and propagation and co-channel interference and all. It made the most sense. You could even use two radios to tune it in. It was sort of very rough, but it was an easy demonstration to do that. But Motorola wanted to get into the business, and they had big cash and good lawyers. So their task was, okay, we want in on this AM stereo thing, but Kahn's got a patent on the independent sideband, so we need to do AM stereo and not that. So that's when they came up with the quadrature system. CQAM, AM. Oh my God. What the hell call sign am I supposed to give here? N1 BCG.
Well, that's I've actually never looked into how CQAM worked, but that's a really good explanation. That makes sense to me. So you have a superposition of amplitude modulation such that it's backwards compatible with all sorts of old school AM receivers, and then you just have that phase component in there, which you can just decode with quadrature methods. Or even more simply, you do a PLL, and you just ride the error voltage there, and that forms your left channel or your right channel, what have you. So that's really interesting. And then you can sort out each channel by just looking at the sum and difference of the amplitude modulated signal and the phase modulated signal. Motorola and their cleverness. It just surprises me sometimes with the stuff that I hear, because I look at, some of the cutting edge technology on digital communications and carrier generation for signals that are way up there, 40, 50 gigahertz. But then I look back at stuff like CQAM, and I'm like, that's really clever. KC3FKR.
You would probably really like to see the history of AM stereo, because there are a lot of good websites that describe the Kahn system, the Motorola system, the Magnavox system, and the Harris system. So there were four, I believe, unless I'm leaving one out. I think there were four. And Harris and Magnavox ended up dropping out, and the real battle was between Kahn and Motorola. The radio station here, my first job out of college was to take the local AM station and make it stereo, and they ended up getting the Motorola CQAM format, which is how I'm familiar with that, because I actually got to put it in. But it's very time delay sensitive. They had Gates BC1G transmitters. So part of the key of maintaining your stereo separation and flat bandwidth is having a very stable transmitter. Well, it's very hard to do that with 833s that vary